If there's one place that defines American motorsport, it's here. The sandy beaches a few miles away held races for decades. It's where NASCAR was born. They need a place to race, a super speedway so fast and so huge that the cars could run flat out all the way around. So they built it. 1 million square yards of earth was moved to create the banking. The void left behind became Lake Lloyd. And 2.5 miles of asphalt created more than just one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. It built the foundation of NASCAR. In the decades that followed, Daytona became hallowed ground. The trophies here mean more than any other. Win the 500, put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy. Win the 24 hours and strap a Rolex on your wrist. The banks are not always kind. They're not always fair. And while Daytona wins bring a statistical highlight to any career, it's the losses that make it seem pointless. But for every untimely ending, there is a triumphant healing. For every emotional victory, a mind-numbing realization.
Tom O'Gorman fighting for every inch that he can possibly get. Won the last T-Scar race of last year, Road Atlantic, starting things off in exactly the right style. It is victory for Tom O'Gorman and the LA Automobile team.
I won at Daytona. I earned a trophy at the World Center of Racing. The checkered flag waved for me. For me, it was not the end of a career. While it may be a highlight, it is only the beginning.
It's just the best ever.
The summer sun is descending on another day here in Daytona Beach at the site of one of the most famous speedways in NASCAR. Once upon a time, stock cars drove through the sand at low tide, building a legacy for racing on the beach. We're a few miles west now at the 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway, now with decades of history in the books. Whether it's the road course or the 24-hour endurance race that takes to the infield, or the 500-mile season opener, Daytona is special. With a new season on the horizon, the sun might be setting, but the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series is just getting started. Welcome to SimTV. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn here tonight. And we're just about to get rolling for our season opener for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Connor, welcome back to SimTV. Always a fun time to come out here to Fuel, and especially Daytona, where we're going to start off with a pretty much a stacked full grid here tonight for the first race of the season.
A completely stacked grid, and there's no better place to open a season. Daytona is the center of racing, basically, especially if you're a NASCAR fan. There's no better place to win, no better place to start your season with a win here. There's a lot of contenders here, a lot of people from last year, a lot of newcomers. It's going to be a thriller.
So as we got qualifying underway right now, a bit of a hold up getting into the session here as we had a bit of a session configuration error. But with that resolved, we're going to head down to the racetrack here in just a minute and bring you the start of the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series season. It's going to traverse the entire end of the summer and into the early autumn months. And we've had Fuel on here, one of the longest running seasons on SimTV. So now we'll head down to the racetrack and get things started. And currently, the driver atop the qualifying board here is Mitch Welker. Nope, and Nick Johnson, his teammate's going to go to top of the board here, Connor. But as always, we've got live timing and scoring available at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing, so you can follow along in real time. But teammates are one thing that are going to help drivers out here a lot tonight, Connor. But there are a couple drivers in this field with the bright orange number that are the Fuel 5 drivers going for an extra cash bonus, courtesy of 89 Speed Shop. So those Fuel 5 drivers got a little bit more to race for tonight.
It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate each other. Maybe they try to jockey in front of each other, maybe race a little harder than they would. But one thing that's really going to be vital, it's a short 80-lap race compared to a couple races I've been at Daytona, but it's all about patience. You have to be smart. You can't just go in there 3 wide in a hole that's not even there. You have to make sure you keep your nose clean or else you're not going to be there at the end.
And a lot of really good-looking liveries in the field. There's Matthew Rodriguez in the number 57 Toyota Supra. A lot of Supras in this field. Seems to be a popular car choice here. With 59 seconds in qualifying, majority of the field has taken a lap. 27 drivers, the last of which is Chad Simpson in the 42. A handful still have not come across the start-finish line. Matt Hollabaugh is one of the ones that is starting a lap here and actually finishing right now as he comes across the line at 51.0. That is going to put him only in 27th. I don't think he's going to get a chance to finish the other lap. But is qualifying even worth talking about here, Connor? We got 80 laps here tonight. Is it going to matter at all where you start?
You can start from the pits and go a lap down, and you probably still have a good shot at being there at the end. So I don't think qualifying's a big fuss here. I think you just really have to make sure you're smart, like I already said. Really, qualifying doesn't really matter. It gets you up front, but really the trouble can happen anywhere, but it's more likely to happen in the middle of the pack.
Christian Gritzko out of Canada and his number 91 Supra as he comes onto the front straightaway, going to bail out on that lap. He will start 11th here tonight. And Jason Brophy in the number 20 is going to grab pole, a 50.427. He is your pole sitter tonight for the first race of the season in the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Again, my name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn. Also, concurrently with this broadcast, we've got the Belly Up Invitational heading on with Finney DeCuna and Eric Mickey over on SimTV2 right now at Las Vegas Motor. Make sure to check that out if we end up in any sort of caution period at all. Let's head down to the racetrack here in just a moment and run through our starting lineup. But let's also check out the weather here before we get rolling here, Connor. It's 79 in the air, 82 on the racetrack, and that means that it's relatively cool considering it's Florida. 55% humidity, not too shabby.
If this was real empty humidity, it would probably be at 200%, but luckily I don't think that's even possible. But it's only 8:30 in the morning, going into a little bit noon later, I believe. The track might heat up a little bit, might get a bit slick out there, but with these cars, it probably shouldn't be too big of a deal.
Just waiting for the field to grid up, of course. Mission 22 is united in the war against veteran suicide. You can check out Mission 22's mission website, and of course, thanks to them and Don Runkle Jr. for setting us up with them this season. Of course, Daytona International Speedway, constructed in 1959, so it's been around NASCAR for quite a while. But it's also one of the largest tracks on the NASCAR schedule, just shy of Talladega by a couple tenths of a mile. Population in Daytona Beach, 70,000 people. And the grandstands can hold just about that plus some. We get ready to roll off and start up the moment. 4 turns, 2.5 miles, of course, is what we're working with here today. Let's roll off the starting grid here tonight. And Connor, row number 1 is going to be Jason Brophy in the number 20 and Nick Johnson number 28.
Nick Johnson trying to start his title defense right with a win here. Jeremy Miller in third, actually a tie for third with Jeremy Miller and Mitch Welker. Miller known to be a bit of a plate goat at these sort of tracks. He actually won on fuel mileage at Dega. We'll see how that goes. Mitch Welker fourth, David Kolb fifth, Zach Buchanan sixth, Josh Robertson seventh, Travis McQuiston starting in eighth. He had a good season last year.
And back in row number 5 is Brian Chambliss in the 25, then Bronson Stafford in the 61. Christian Gritzko in the number 91 will start 11th next to Hayden Pistorius in the number 9. Let the rest of these kind of scroll on the bottom of the screen. I want you to tell me, teammates or no teammates, where do you want to be at the end of the race? Would you rather have a group of cars near you that you can rely on, or would you rather be all by yourself with nobody around you so that your actions are your own?
You need teammates to win this race. If you're on your own, you're probably going to get hosed one lane or another, that or you're going to get caught blocking at the very wrong time. It's always important to have friends at a track like this. I think honestly, if you don't have teammates, you're pretty much hosed unless you're at the front and they are behind you. So it's really vital to have some friends out there and work together with people great.
Riley Thompson in the number 56. He's going to start all the way back in 23rd place. Nice to head up on the back straightaway. And keys to the race, we always talk about where the crashes are going to happen. The straightaways seem to be the popular place here, Connor. The corners, you'd think that would be the hard part, but once you get onto the straights, you fan out, and that's where the collisions usually happen.
Yeah, it just seems to be a problem. A lot of people don't know how to align the bumpers correctly. It happens really often in these Xfinity cars for some reason. Some people just push too hard. That's another thing that can happen. You have a lot of checkups, especially on the bottom lane. You can see big pushes go completely wrong, right hooked in front of the field, all that. It could be an absolute catastrophe if these guys don't know how to line up the bumpers correctly.
So 42 drivers lined up in the grid here tonight as we head down towards turn number 3. And at the front of the field, we already mentioned the drivers that ended up on the front row. Jason Brophy in the number 20. He's on the inside in a Ford Mustang. On the outside is the 28 and Nick Johnson, who was pretty much the dominant force last season, Connor. We'll see if he can recoup some of that magic and get a season-starting victory here tonight. About an hour and 7 minutes of green flag racing coming to you right here on Sim TV. Thanks again for joining us. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. 80 laps at Daytona for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series, and it all begins now. Another season on Sim TV. We're going to climb the high banks in Daytona Beach. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Daytona.
Start by the front row, but looks like even help, a bit of a weak outside line there, but I think Nick Johnson might be able to tuck in, still in front of a 76. The 20 might be able to clear, but they're still side by side.
Zach McKenna lined up behind his Project 2 teammate, the 76 and the 40, going to be working together all night long. Nice looking liveries, especially that Cadbury scheme on the 40. Put a lot of effort into that. Looks nice. Cars pulling off to the inside already, maybe to stay out of trouble, but this can also create some issues when you start blending back into line down at the entrance of turn number 3. If the 16 can't get back up, it's going to get really wild as they come off into the corner.
They're going to have to be careful that they don't lose the draft. He's still on the apron, finally gets up, loses a lot of time. There's a lot of people dropping back, so you'll probably see him in a second pack at some point way off the leaders. As we come back up to the front runners, they're still side by side for the race lead, but look who it is going to lead lap 1. It might be Jeremy Miller. I think he might have got him at the line, just barely.
Have a look here, and 1 lap led. Jeremy Miller will lead the first lap here at Daytona. A lot of cars spreading out on an opening lap, getting themselves sorted out as we head through 1 and 2. And seeing the Project 2 cars line to start up there on the high side. Then a group of Ford Mustangs on the bottom, and one lonely Camaro leading the field right now. And that, of course, is the 30 of Jeremy Miller. He won a race at Daytona a couple seasons ago in the Outsider Racing League. Expertly, not only won that, Connor, he dominated it, but already leading laps here.
But that Outsiders Racing League race, he had teammates, he had friends up front. Right now, he really doesn't have anyone. I think he's in Discord right now. Brian Chambliss, RJ Root, a couple others in the race, but right now he's got no friends, but he knows how to stay up front at one of these races.
Five drivers looking a little bit swirly towards the mid-pack here, and I think a lot of this is just getting comfortable with the drivers around you. On the start of a new season, there's a lot of new faces and new names that you might not recognize, and how much of that is a trust game, and how willing are you to be bump drafting somebody that you've never even seen or heard of coming into the night?
It definitely takes a while to feel some of the new drivers out. Sometimes it even takes maybe a quarter of a season. It's really going to be awkward for some of these guys to race around new breed of drivers here. Some of them might be really good. Some of them might not be in the league for much longer, but you got to be really cautious around new bait like that.
Jeremy Miller drops in line on the inside lane in turns 3 and 4. The 20 of Jason Brophy kind of stuck on the inside, now going to slide up in front. I believe that's Nick Johnson in the 28 car, so those two Mustangs lined up, and the 11 of David Calb on the inside, going to pull up to the rear bumper of the leading Camaro. 3 laps into this race, and the two double file lines have pretty much stayed stacked up, and it's single file from basically 20th on back.
We're definitely not going to see a one-lane show on the outside line, that's for sure. We're seeing hard racing early, still 2x2, maybe at least double-digit rows deep, and Miller's going to go for the lead still. He doesn't want to comply.
Now the 20 car had gotten around him, but Miller is not satisfied. He's going to get a big shove from the 28 car and push himself back out front. See the 25 of Brian Chambliss poking his nose into the picture. He's another Camaro up front. This is mostly dominated by Toyotas and Fords here in the early stages. A couple of the Chevys peeking their way through, and typically Chevy is the most popular car choice, but at least at the front of the field tonight, Chevy is only a few and far between.
Like I said, Jeremy really doesn't have any friends out there, but like I also said, he knows how to make it work up there. Nick Johnson pushing him, great pusher right now. The 11 really not trying to force the issue on the bottom there, which is leading to all these swaps for the lead right now between the 30 and the 20.
Still side by side as the 20 and 30 run door to door. The 28 doing a big push to the 30 of Miller. Going to launch him down the back straightaway. Car out of line in the background. I believe that's the 93 of Travis McQuistion. Just pulling in front of a group of Supras. They went around him in the outside lane, so he's going to go backwards very quickly.
Don't know if that was by design. He's really off the pace. He'll probably just drop to the pretty much dead last here. He's going to play it safe. He knows what he's doing at one of these tracks, but meanwhile up at the front, the 11 almost got clear. Might have made a peak for the lead there, but he couldn't do it. Miller's losing some ground here.
20-car Murphy clears that first row behind him as they come across the start-finish line. Very, it wasn't that humid on paper, but there's still a lot of haze out there this afternoon. But we've been green so far. Saw a car get on the apron right in the back. I think, if I took a look, I believe that was the 88 of Tyler Dahlger, who had a miserable season the last couple of times out. I remember a few seasons back, like 2018, Dahlger was a force to be reckoned with in some races, but the last couple seasons haven't been amazing for him. Trying to get off to a better start, 25th to 22nd, a slow climb forward for him so far.
I was with a few races with Finian at the tail end of the 28 season. It seemed like he had a lot of bad luck and caught up in a lot of incidents that weren't of his doing. He really needs to get something turned around here. He's got to get his luck turned around, and what better way to do it than here?
Winning at Daytona, even in the sim world, is definitely an honor. It doesn't come around that often, but when it does, you're going to try to seize that opportunity. So Jeremy Miller gets another launch out to lead, and we've had 6 laps complete. He's led 4 of them, so he has prevailed so far. This starts that discussion of the top side versus the bottom side. Connor, where do you want to be right now, and where do you want to be on lap number 79?
Right now I want to be on the bottom. You have a lot of options to miss the wreck, but if you're on lap 79, you're anywhere but the bottom because you'll get stuck there. You want to be in the 2nd lane, 3rd lane. If this was Dega, I'd say a 4th lane, but no room for that. But if it comes down to crunch time going for the win, you do not want to be stuck on that double yellow.
A lot of movement going on throughout the field here on board with the 52 of Josh Robertson. Cass Silman in the number 6 in 10th as it stands, and Cass started in 14th, so a bit of a climb forward again in that outside lane. I think there's some ability to be had up there. It's definitely not the shorter way around. The speed is up there, I think, once you get the line moving.
Speaking of the speed, we'll see how much speed they're carrying compared to the lap car. I think that's Michael Skinner they're coming up on in a bit here, maybe coming through 3 and 4 they'll catch him. We'll see how they navigate. They're still 2 by 2.
Michael Skinner is, right there at the exit of turn number 2. He's already into 3, but the speed difference right now is he's got about 180 miles an hour, but the field behind him doing about 10 more than that. Mostly lined up on the bottom, though. That outside line beginning to dwindle towards the tail of the pack. But there goes the Project 276. Mitch Welker poked out a line. Maybe just get some air on that nose.
Yeah, I heard Johnson was pushing Miller to the lead there. He was blinking. Miller almost didn't go down. That could have been big. If you blow an engine in front of the pack, consider yourself dead. Pretty much everyone else dead along with it. So you got to really be careful of your temps. You might be pushing for only a couple seconds, and boom, your race is over.
Off into turn number 1 already. We're almost at 10% completion. This race is going to go by very quickly. You see the field lined up, not a single caution so far. One driver has gone a lap down. That's Michael Skinner. We do have a slow car. That's Steve Herring getting back up to speed in the background. I'm not sure if he came to pit lane. But I think he might have had an issue. There's some damage to the left rear quarter panel here, Connor. Let's go back and have a look.
This is interesting. It looked like people were trying to pit.
The 88, 16, they all got together. I don't know if they were trying to pit or if they just got hooked.
No, they weren't.
And then the 16 tries to come back out on the racetrack, wasn't clear, and turned Steve Herring down through the grass. Did a good job hanging onto the car, though.
It's a good job hanging on to it. That was just awkward. It seems like they were dropping to the very back, and that was just not coordinated well at all. But luckily, no one spun. We're still green, and look at that 20 and I believe the 28 powering of a lead right there.
Yeah, and we're actually coming up on that lap car right now, Michael Skinner. So hopefully he can stay up out of the way. The 28 going to try to. Nope, that's not going to work. He's got to tuck in behind him. Thought he might have tried to draft as we're 3 wide on the back straightaway, 10 laps in to the season opener in the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series, and this is the 10th moment for everybody.
Yeah, the 27 was weaving around a bit there. It's a bit dodgy when you see a lap car not able to hold his line that well, but everyone's by so far, and the 20 keeps the lead. 28 probably scared everyone there, but the 30 really checked up there. I don't know what happened there. Jeremy Miller really checked up. Big stack up on the bottom.
Oh, there's trouble behind him. There goes the 27 around, and looks like we're going to stay green. More collisions. Casey Lakatos gets on through. Michael Skinner, though, is going to come to a rest on the apron on the front straightaway. Can he stay out of trouble? He will. And I'm going to very quickly go back and check out a replay of this, because with all this instability comes the chance for another wreck. I don't think he directly caused this. He might have gotten tagged from somebody else here.
Really, that really all started. Jeremy Miller clipped the apron in the middle of 3 and 4, and he really stacked up the bottom lane, sent everyone into a frenzy, and they were just trying to find a way to go somewhere, and the 32 and the 8 actually collided and got into Michael Skinner. Nothing wrong with not Skinner's fault there.
Yeah, just collected innocently there. Nothing he could have done different. Nick Johnson leads the way, though. Real tight is the 20, and Brophy to his right rear quarter panel. Johnson tried to block. There's a car sliding behind him. That's, I believe that's Bronson Stafford. And did he get the wall there on the inside? Some pretty significant damage, and that motor is destroyed.
Yeah, he got up into V83 of, can't see who that is. He got up into V83 there, and he just couldn't save it into the inside wall. It was calm. All of a sudden, we're going crazy here.
Yeah, Bronson Stafford was behind the 59 of Evan Adams, who got loose, and it looked like he just got himself loose at corner exit, just hit the wall. But as all this is happening, we've had a very intense moment at the front of the field. Big slide by the 20 car of Jason Brophy. That got real tense. Looked 3 wide there for a moment.
The sun's out. We're not racing in the rain. We're racing a lap 80, guys. Come on.
Well, that intensity picked up real fast. We're 12 laps in, and now the front 3 or 4 are going to get single filed out. There is Zach Buchanan popping on a line. He's going to look for the lead in his Project 2 Supra.
Look at that purple. I actually don't know what make it is, but look at that purple car going to the lead. He had a big run on Nick Johnson there. He's going to get the push from Miller. Look at the 52. The whole pack running up on these 3 all of a sudden. Going to be a big checkup here. Got to be careful with pushing. Barely clear for Buchanan there.
And he pulled his Supra down right in front of the 28 of Nick Johnson. And these two were teammates last season, so they knew how to work with each other quite a bit. And I think there's some mutual trust and respect there. But that was definitely a tight move for this early in the race. You see the big push now on the back straightaway. Here's the 52 of Josh Robertson. Where did he come from? All the way back in 7th up to 4th. He's been sneakily hanging out inside the top 10.
Hey, just been pretty much biding his time. Had a big run on Johnson, like I said. I think he's just trying to relax here. That incident with Miller hitting the apron there really set things off, but all of a sudden it seems like things are calming down. The lines are getting spread out a little bit. Miller trying to make some ground back up on the outside, trying to get the right rear of Johnston.
David Calvin, the number 11, started up towards the front of this race tonight. He's drifted back to 11th. On his inside is Christian Gritzko's 91. Right in front of him, Brian Chambliss in the 25 on the left-hand side of your screen. Then the 6 of Cass Silvan off, I believe, to the right in front of the Ford Mustang. So they're going to head down the back straightaway now. Lap number 14, Buchanan leads. And the Project 2 Supra is separated by 2 Mustangs in between.
Miller really trying to keep control of this race, along with the 22 guys who have led the majority of the laps, I believe, trying to stay in there right now. And they got some help from Hayden Pistorius. Don't know where he's coming from, but he's trying to help them out here to 6 up there as well. It's Cass Silliman, excuse me.
Hayden Pistorius started in 12th. He's worked his way up into 6th as we come across the start-finish line. Looking deeper in the field, there's a whole group of about 16 or 17 cars, and there's a second group. And one of the first drivers in it is Thomas Bressi, who started in 30th. He is one of our Fuel 5 competitors. Not the leading Fuel 5 driver right now. That would be Brian Chambliss in the 25. But he does have behind him, I believe that is the 84 of Tom Bourne, 17th back to 19th. And this whole second group is sort of disheveled a little bit here. They're kind of in pieces compared to the front group that's all nice and tight.
You got Bressi and Bourne tandeming. You got the 8 with Damage kind of dropping there. Michael Stroll. Then Tyler Hensley's trying to lead the makeshift line a little bit. They lost. They're actually not that far back. Only 2.5 seconds back. They're just biding their time, trying to get some space from that lead pack right now.
On start-finish line, 15 laps into this race. Buchanan still leads. Miller, though, getting a push. Big slide there up the nose of the 20. A lot of bum drafting going on. And tell me a little bit about these Xfinity cars in comparison to the Cup car. More stable, less stable, or sort of the same?
I think the Xfinity cars, for some reason, have always been less stable. In my opinion, I would think that these bumpers line up a bit more, but for some reason, the front ends of these cars just slide around all over the place. You definitely don't want to bump on the left rear like the 28 is on the 40 a little bit there. Big stack up on the inside line, but you have to be really careful. You have to make sure you're dead in the middle when bump drafting. If you even hit them a little bit off center, they're probably going into the rest of the field upside down.
And a wreck right now at the front of the field would certainly be a big one. We've got the 30 now taking the lead away, drops in front of the 40, a bit of a push through the tri-oval. And this, to me, the tri-oval section seems to be where the most accidents happen later in the race, because you got everyone pushing, and that upsets the car there. And I feel like you're more inclined to push through the tri-oval than you are through the banking, and people get a little bit greedy with it.
Yeah, because if you're pushing through the tri-oval and the person on your outside or inside isn't, you're going to gain a decent amount of time out of that tri-oval. But the incident through the tri-oval can really happen early or late. In the Outsiders Racing League, it was actually Miller who caused the wreck in the tri-oval and ended up causing the one big one of that race. And I won it, so thanks, Jeremy. But it's really, be really careful of what you're doing in that tri-oval.
working their way through turns 3 and 4. Big stack up at the exit of the corner, 3 wide. The Knight of Pistorius looked through the middle, but backs out. Great thinking there to keep trouble from happening, but we're still 3 wide as they head through the trial with an 11 to count on the outside.
Let's not speak too soon. I don't think we've evaded trouble yet. That could have been a big wreck if the 11 didn't go to the outside, and he's probably going to get a hose and go to the rear of the field, but he's definitely a hero for avoiding the wreck there.
Yeah, that was really good by all those drivers involved to not stack up the field. Look at the 28 of Johnson going to the right on the outside of the 40. Going to get a big push from the Mustang teammate in the 20. And now the run down the backstretch again with about 4 miles an hour on that inside groove of all that momentum from the outside lane.
And then Buchanan gets a big shove to the 30 to keep them a bit even going into turn number 3 as they're 2x2 dead even at the front now. 30's really pushing up on exit. You got to be careful he doesn't push too far up or Buchanan's going to be all over his left rear.
Let's talk pit strategy here. In a field like this, how do you hit pit lane? I mean, do you have to work your way to the bottom first, or do you just wait for the bottom to go before you make your way down there?
You kind of got to coordinate who's pitting where. People with early pit stalls, you want them to go to the inside wall. People who are pitting pretty much from the front of the pack, you got to pretty much make them go to the outside. Another big shove for Buchanan, but you really have to coordinate perfectly who's going where. I mean, there's so many lanes on that apron, but for some reason, with so many options with the pavement down out of turn number 4, there's still so many incidents entering pit road.
Field working their way through 3 and 4 now as we approach the 1/4 mark of this race, the 25% mark. And the Fuel 5 competitors, I'm only seeing one of them in the top 15 right now, and it's still Brian Chambliss. And that's going to make you a little bit greedier towards the end of the race when they dangle a couple George Washingtons in front of you, Connor. You know that from the Dash for Cash and a couple other series. It makes you do a little bit crazier things, but how much is that on your mind right now, or is it on your mind at all?
I don't think it's on their mind for anyone. I think Chambliss is just there because he's just been keeping it cool. He pretty much started up there. I think everyone else is just keeping a level head, staying at the back, trying to, set up for the long run, make sure they don't lose the draft on this pit stops if they make it to green flag pit stops. You're really not thinking about that until maybe the last 20 laps or so.
Well, nice orderly, tidy lines right now, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, all the way back through the field. And the 30 of Miller gets clear and out in front of the 40. Buchanan sweeps a little bit high as we come across the line to complete the 1/4 mark of this race.
Oh, we slid up high a little bit, almost got into a 28. They're really having trouble holding the line there, which is odd because the track temp hasn't really gone up that much. It shouldn't be too skatey out there, but once again, those tires are wearing. That could be a big factor as well.
Yeah, I think the tire wear might be a consideration. It didn't used to be at this racetrack. Well, a combination of changing the surface characteristics of this facility and also the new tire model. You might have to worry about it a little bit. We have 4 sets of tires on hand today. Obviously, we're not going to use all of them, but that's just a consideration. Look at Buchanan looking out to the left. That worries me slightly as we head off into the corner, Scott.
He's got to be really careful. I mean, if you're on that left rear, you're causing the big one if you hit him hard. And I mean, too hard. And he's really drifting up out of a corner. I don't think he's clear there. Really trying to force the issue. Putting Nick Johnston up at the top 3 wide.
Yeah, we are 3 wide for the top spot right now. Buchanan's not backing out, but he's going to shove the 28 of Johnson out of that upper groove. And here comes the 20 of Brophy to push him through. So he just basically sacrificed the 28 to grab his own spot. Well, he got him the position. It was a little bit risky, though.
I think Nick Johnson will remember that at the end of a race when it comes to cutting drivers any slack. That's going to send Nick Johnson to the back of this pretty much front pack. And Zach Buchanan's got the lead of the outside lane now, like you said, and he's got a huge push from the 20.
Buchanan so far has led 3 laps, and he could get a 4th here if he can just get out in front of the 30 car. Miller has been the dominant force of the day. He has led 12 of our 22 laps. More than half so far. It'd be nice to pick up the most laps led point early in the season. That certainly would help you.
Yeah, we've seen it before. He can stay at the top of the points as long as he's got the fortune to go with it. I think he was the points leader going to the RRL playoffs last season, as the 52 is going to dump him and go for the lead as I say that. But
the Project 2 teammates almost got together, almost smashing doors as they went off into turn 1.
The sheet metal's not going to be looking good after this race at this rate, but yeah, Miller, as long as he can get a good start, he really can still be a factor if he can make it to the Fuel Finals. I know he's able to get the consistent finishes if he gets the luck going.
Big push by the 76 of Mitch Welker into the back of the 30. Into turn 3, that's going to push him out again. A bit of a drift up into the 52 of Josh Robertson. Behind them, Brian Chambliss has snuck his way inside the top 5. And a great battle for the lead here as we approach lap 25.
These guys are getting so close to each other. I don't think it's side draft more, they're just almost dooring each other. It's not going to end well when it gets later in the run.
It's amazing to me, matter how narrow Daytona can feel in relation to a place like Talladega, 3 wide feels absolutely insane. At Talladega, you can probably pull that off. Here, oh, big slide by the 52 off the nose of the 40.
I don't understand how he saved that, got back in front of him somehow. I don't think I would have gone back in front of him after that, but an amazing save. But yeah, this track can really narrow up quickly. When you go from Talladega to Daytona, it almost feels impossissible to drive.
Oh, here
you go
comes
from
the
4 lanes, but it feels like 2.5, and it's really hard to go through right, especially when you're door banging into turn number 3 like Buchanan and the 52 are.
Wow.
You're still banging doors.
That was excellent. I don't know if the 76 might have slowed down the 52 a little bit, but Buchanan was able to use that change of momentum to go on by the inside, shuffle out the 52, and get those teammates up to the outside lane. It was a little messy, but they got it done. And behind him, they're still 3 wide.
Josh Robertson wouldn't lay off the 40 of Zach Buchanan. I don't think he appreciated. Oh, we got the one sliding into the apron there. Bless Lopez slamming onto the brakes going into the road course section, spinning it around. Don't know where that came from.
Yeah, he just kind of lost that. I don't know if there was any contact there or anything. He just kind of got out of control through the exit of the tribal, so maybe that tells us where the tires are at. But look at this field. Still got 40 cars in this lead pack, and they are bumping and banging and side drafting. This is getting really, really wild here as we approach probably a pit stop in the next 15 laps.
Yeah, the one car, Bless Lopez, he hit the apron in a tri-oval, just got out of shape, was able to keep it going. We're still green, but for how much longer with how they're racing and almost spinning each other in the turns.
I've been amazed that we haven't wadded up the field so far, but it's only a matter of time. There's Brian Chambliss up into second, started on back in 9th. There's the 91 of Christian Gritzko. He went 11th to 4th. And Mike Hurley in the 32, 16th to 7th. Good run so far for that Supra.
We can see the lead pack kind of getting a bit smaller here. We can see some more guys trying to drift off the leaders here. Adis Pastorius sort of stuck in the middle of the first and second pack leading those guys, with Shane Terry and Evan Adams and others involved in there. I think they're getting ready to maybe they'll try to undercut the lead pack. You never know.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure if that'll do you a whole lot of good in terms of the lap time that you'll save. I think it'll get you out of trouble, though, because we know later in the pit sequence, when everybody hits pit lane, it's going to get very, very busy down there, and busy means potential for cautions. So maybe pitting early wouldn't necessarily be a horrible thing, but it can also get you trapped. So maybe you want to stay on to the end of the fuel tank, but that might be a little while.
To be honest, we don't know how long the fuel tanks can go. I don't know if they're going to stretch it to try to make a one-stop. I don't think that's possible, but you really never know. There might be people saving fuel in this lead pack, the guys who haven't gotten up to the front, like the 51, the 34, the 44. They really haven't been near the front. They could be saving fuel. They might be trying to pull a strategy that no one else has thought of.
Yeah, and again, the fuel mileage varies so drastically depending on where you are in the aerodynamic push here. If you're tucked in behind somebody, you're probably fine. If you're Jeremy Miller, you've been out front leading most of this race, you're going to be burning a lot more fuel than someone like Zach Buchanan, who's mostly been following. So the fuel mileage considerations here are pretty much all over the board, and it's very hard to predict when drivers are going to need to come to pit lane.
One thing's for sure, I think it's going to be wise to take 4 tires, because these guys are sliding more and more every single lap, especially at a turn number 4. People are struggling for grip going out of every single lane they've trying to then run. It's getting really insane.
Out of turn number 2, side by side, Miller and Welker. Welker was the season opener winner last season in the 76 car. He won that sideways coming across the start-finish line in very dramatic fashion. I'm sure he'd rather win it on the gray stuff this year, but we'll see if he can get the next 50 or 60 laps position he's in. He might stand a pretty good chance, especially with a teammate tucked in behind him. Let's jump back a little bit deeper in the field. Robert Kenny in the 34. This is not a driver I've seen in quite some time. I haven't seen him since the old hardline days. That was back in 2018, so good to see him back here. A couple other drivers we haven't seen in a little while. I think Shane Terry in the 83, another hardline competitor that's probably been trying out some different leagues, but he's back here in fuel, giving it a try this time around. 13th back to 21st, so he's slipped backwards so far.
He might have just been laying back there. I like how we say the good old days of 2018. Oh, Buchanan almost turned to 76. These guys are getting, like we said, they're not hitting dead center. They're almost causing big ones, but these drivers are still able to save it. Mitch Welker with a big save down the back.
Yeah, back in the day was 2018. It feels like it's been forever here on SimTV. It's been a long time. Been a lot of change since then, but as we're going to come across the start-finish line, complete lap 29. Miller leads his lap. Chambliss is second.
Another one on the apron. That was a 32 on the apron there. He was able to save it. They're coming up on more lap traffic. This is a bit of a line of lap traffic. Bless Lopez, Michael Skinner, John Wilco, and Steve Herring in this 4-car line that they're going to come up on. It's going to be interesting to see if they even pull high here.
Well, and I think if you're by yourself, I think there's definitely an obligation to stay high. If you're in a group of cars, I think that obligation is not quite there as much. So I think they're probably going to make them go around. And this is where, if I had my thinking cap on, Connor, I think we're going to get a caution here shortly.
It's looking likely. The probability meter is going way up right now. As the other guy, there's only three of them are on the lead lap, and then you have Michael Skinner, who's 3 down after his couple of incidents there.
Across the start finish line, a complete lap number 30. Miller again out front has been the dominant force. 20 of those 31 laps belong to him. Do you think back to the Oral season opener a couple seasons ago when he led the most laps? He went out and won that race in pretty dominant fashion. So we mentioned earlier that he's sort of the plate track king. Well, it seems like that's no different here today. Car dropping off the timing and scoring screen, and back now. I think that was Gritzko in the 91.
Yep. If he came back, luckily, that could have been the wreck right there. But yeah, we need friends to win here, and he's got a friend in Brian Chambliss. But right now, Chambliss not doing enough pushing. Mitch Welker goes to the point with help from McKinnon.
There's that pack of cars at the exit of turn number 4. 4 cars strong. About 38 more, approaching them from behind.
Miller goes for the move, dumps Chambliss, goes to the outside to get the push from Buchanan. He wants to lead this race to the very end, or at least to the green flag pit stops. A huge shove for Buchanan.
And as we go on in this race, you're going to get braver and braver because you think you know what the driver's cars around you can handle, and you're going to push all the way up to that limit, and it's just going to take one misstep to cause a big accident. So 32 laps into this 80-lap event, about 38 minutes of racing remaining. That is a metric ton of time left in this event, so we're not anywhere near done yet.
We're not even really close to the point of people starting to shove in the corners. We're apparently at the point where we're still dooring in the corners. Mitch Welker's and Buchanan still getting really close to each other right there. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of the pushing's going to get more aggressive than it already has been, and that's when it's really going to get wild.
Walker's following the 30. You see that group ahead of them. They're actually not making terrible time. Not 185. They're only 3 or 4 miles an hour off the pace, so it's going to take a couple laps before we get back to them. But I think that speed differential is going to be helpful. I don't like when we approach groups of cars that are running 15 or 20 miles an hour off the pace, but if the differential is only 3 or 4 miles an hour, they're much more likely to get assimilated into the group.
Whoa! Gritzko all over the left rear of Chambliss there, almost causing a big wreck. But I think that the speed difference is so small, it makes it a bit of a problem because the leaders aren't going to want to sit behind these guys. They're going to want to be able to pass them. And what kind of pandemic, no pun intended, what's that going to cause? They're going to try to go around them 3 wide when they're really not that much slower than them. It could cause a much bigger deal, a big stack up like we're seeing on the inside there with the 32 and 93. Quiston almost turned them there, but this could be catastrophe.
Well, I can tell you one thing is that I would much rather not be running side by side with lap traffic.
Or 3 wide.
Yeah, we are again. There's the 20 that time.
Where's the 34?
Big slide by the 52. That's going to stack him up. Don't try 4, boys. Too early in the race.
52 got a huge shove the 40 Buchanan. He's going to get a shove probably to the lead. Not much hope for Jeremy Miller. The 34 out of nowhere to trying to go for the race lead, Robert F. Kenny.
He's got a
look at the run Buchanan's got.
The 34 had a really large run. The 52 moved left and Buchanan went with him. I'm not sure if that was a blocker or if that was a well-calculated move, but he got it done. The 34 still 3 wide as he starts to drift back. He had a huge head of steam and he hit that wall of air. It's like hitting concrete.
He also hit the wall out of turn number 4 as well. That can't help. The 25, Chambliss actually just blinked out. He hasn't came back yet. We see the 91 giving him his spot, not risking anything. That could be a problem if he comes back in.
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of people saying that iRacing servers have not been super stable tonight. But I can't imagine that that's necessarily unrelated. And then knowing Brian, it's not common for him to have issues. So it's like, is he back? I think he is back. He might be.
He is.
Back in 38.
Actually, he might have hit the wall or something.
He did, yeah. Back in 38th and
right.
got big damage on that car. That's a real shame.
He wrecked big out of nowhere. Really can't see it because of his lag, but he looks pretty
Oh,
destroyed.
34, 40, touch in the middle of the corner, 3 wide, and Robert Kenny and Zach Buchanan almost triggered a big one.
I don't know how they're keeping it straight. This isn't going to last forever by any means. It's at least the 3rd or 4th save I've seen right now.
That was about as close as we've gotten. That was a full-on quarter panel contact, and good on Buchanan to keep that from turning into something a lot bigger.
I think this is helping the 98, 62, and 1. They're not going to go a lap down when they're racing at this rate. Meanwhile, Evan Adams actually lagged out of a server as well. So along with Chambliss, he's gone out to probably a server failure of some sort. And through all this confusion and craziness, Jeremy Miller still leads.
And look who's second, Cass Silliman in the number 6. 14th, the second in the Rigshare Ford Mustang. And, Rigshare in the past had actually sponsored this series, and they work on cryptocurrency mining, and it's a really interesting project that they've got going on. As they exit turn number 4, closing in on halfway as we got a big stack up as more cars are going to hit pit lane, including Josh Robertson at the 52.
Only followed by a few others. The 44 spinning Tyler Hensley getting a bit loose. He's actually missed his stall there, so he's going to have to go around again. A huge error. Nick Johnson and David Cobb come in as well. And I believe Thomas Bressy's in as well, RJ Root, and I believe that's it, but the 44's chances might already be done.
Yeah, that's a real shame, and he's going to be hoping and praying for a caution to happen here shortly, just so that he can stay on sequence, because otherwise he will be stuck a lap down towards the end of this. Miller closing in on the lap traffic, and they are double wide in front of him. There's the one car of Bless Lopez, who we saw sideways earlier in the race. There's the 27. Michael Skinner stuck in behind, going to go middle.
Oh, man! I don't know why they were too wide. They were in one single file line up until that point, and then they go too wide. I don't understand that at all, but it seems like they're good through it so far. If I was one of the leaders, I would have pit right there because of that stack up, but it seems like we're good.
Oh, no, the 76! Sideways into turn number 1. He somehow hangs on to it. That was unbelievable.
There's grip packs on Shirley. There's no way they can save the car this much. I can't believe this.
That was unbelievable. Have a look at, I was going to go back and check it out. As they entered turn number 1, watch the 76 sideways into turn 1. That was very near to disaster for Mitch Welker. Great job as we're still messy.
Back up on the outside. Wilco's in the wall now. And the 1 drops back a lot. Huge. This is a bunch of all over the placeness, if that's even a word. I don't think all over the placeness is in the dictionary, but you can look it up.
It is now. This is going to be a big fat picture of this right next. Now it's chaos. But they somehow did it as they come on through to start lap number 39. And Jeremy Miller somehow picked his way through that, and he's still got cars behind him. I cannot believe they did it, but they're doing it.
Credit to him for making the move to the middle work out of the corner. He was able to keep the car under him to get through there, but at the same time, it's not a move that should have had to be made. I don't understand why the 27 went to the bottom when his other guys in his lane went to the top, but that stuff just kind of happens sometimes at these tracks. They got more lap traffic to navigate. This is actually the 11 and the 24 who already pit.
There's a 24 of Thomas Bressy, who already made that pit stop. You're right, they're just also past another car. That was the 29 car, RJ Root. Now we're sort of intermingling here as we hit lap number 40. Next time by will be halfway. I suspect, as we already see now, a bunch more drivers hitting pit lane. Oh, the 88 of Dolger and Christopher Matthews in really, really high.
Yeah, they might not have been able to pull that one off. As I'm wondering what the fuel strategy is now, because you have some guys who pit around 36 to 37, and you got leaders that are still out there, 40 coming to 41. I'm wondering if you can even make it from where the guys who pit early came from.
So we're going to probably see the remainder of cars hit pit lane. You've only seen about a dozen of them actually come in for their stop. So I'd imagine that most of the rest of the field is either going to come right now or they're going to wait till the fuel to run out.
Well, I'm assuming the 30 and the 6 and the other leaders on the top are going to have to wait, because it's not like the guys who already pit are going to let them in at all. They've got to have to figure out a way to get to the bottom without losing a lot of time, and I don't think that's going to be possible for Miller.
Oh, he's sort of stuck where he is right now. Nobody actually came that time through. There's nobody from the front group. You see another group that has already made their pit stops up ahead. And this green flag pit stop sequence, things get sort of strung out, but when everybody comes out of pit lane from this big group up front, the speed differential of all the packs trying to recongregate is going to be a mess. Look at this right now as they head onto the backstretch.
Oh, boy. They got the 88 trying to come up onto the track. He's giving everyone the outside. Good job by him. Everyone gets around him for now. I think they're going to be able to navigate him. I'm still wondering what the leaders on the top are going to do. Surely the fuel can't last this long.
Oh, 30 and 24 almost touched there. I think Bressy's just trying to establish some room as the 48 gets sideways. He's going to hit pit lane, and a whole bunch of cars are going to come too, including the 40 of Zach Buchanan.
Oh! Into the 17. He was never going to make a huge calamity on that round of pit stops. That didn't work at all.
Oh, we're still wrecking.
And it's still wrecking.
57 cars turned around, and what a mess as the caution comes out.
We had a wreck in the turn 1, I believe. Yes, a huge wreck. The 98, the 62. It might have been the big one. Bressie, Nick Johnston involved. The 56 of Riley Thompson. Tom Borden in the 84. Huge calamity on that round of stops.
Wow, so just as right in the middle of a pit stop sequence, you had about half the cars pit, half the cars not. Riley Thompson's car absolutely destroyed. He was one of the Fuel 5 competitors going for that extra cash prize. And it looks like that'll be out for him tonight. Let's go back first and let's check out the wreck that just happened. Then we'll go back to the pit lane incident, but off into turn 1. Bresci is the first car that I saw turned around. If you could help me out, find out who else was involved.
That's unfortunately, that's Bresci off the front bumper of Jeremy Miller, not pushing correctly there on the front bumpers. McQuiston got a good amount of damage right there.
Oh, yeah, the 93 gets into the side of the 24. Yeah, that was just offset to the right and actually turned him up. And McQuiston
Thompson took a big hit.
Oh, Lakatos just squeezed through there, and Riley Thompson, wow, he drilled him, the 84, 28, the 88 just snuck by there, but what a mess down there into turn number 1.
Yeah, Miller's fast, but sometimes he just makes some mistakes, and that was a mistake right there. Got on the right rear of Bresci there, kind of just swiped across them. Unfortunate that happened. A couple of guys did a good job of avoiding it, at least. RJ Root, I don't know how he avoided McQuiston coming up the track. Same as the Cottis, I don't know how he did that.
Now, I'm going to go back also and look at the incident coming down onto pit lane, and this was sort of triggered, I think, by at least the front part, and the 40 was just way, way hot. Could not get the car stopped, right into the back of the 17, gets knocked off the side of the 16, and then everyone kind of braking to avoid that collision is what triggered the next part of the accident. The 57 of Matt Rodriguez was the one that got turned around there.
I think he was trying to stop for a stall or something, and the 51 trying to come into a stall, right, reared him. I don't know if that could have gone worse, to be honest.
That was about as bad as it can get on pit lane. So with that said, we've got a couple cars out and a couple cars in the pit lane. Well, they don't have to go very far to get repairs, as now the leaders are going to hit pit road under caution here at lap number 43, our first one of the evening, and Miller going to bring down the field.
I don't think Miller got any damage out of that. Luckily, he was able to come free out of all of that, but despite turning the 24 in front of the rest of the field there, a lot of contenders for him out of the race, but a lot of people who are working with him well are pretty damaged as well. Johnston's out of it. Buchanan's destroyed, obviously. A lot of people are not going to be able to be contenders now.
Well, you have to think about the 76 and Mitch Welker. With the 40 car all damaged, who does he have to work with now up towards the front? Maybe Christian Gritzko, but we'll see if Gritzko can do what Buchanan was doing earlier. The 40 was one of the best cars of the day, and is now sitting in the pit stall having to make pretty massive repairs to that car.
I'm trying to see what big contenders are still up there. You got Miller, you got Brophy, who was pretty strong. Cass Silliman made his way up from the back pretty well. Robert Kennedy actually made up a decent amount of spots. There's really not a lot of people who are at the front that are left now after all that.
Josh Robertson currently the leader at lap number 44. Got about 28 minutes of green flag racing remaining once we turn him loose once again. So the dominant car of the day has still been the 30 of Jeremy Miller, the one that also just triggered the big one that we saw down in turn number 1. The other car that has been up front all day, the 40 of Zach Buchanan, is sitting in pit road with that car all torn up on both ends.
I think we should have probably expected something crazy like that to happen. We were trying to get a yellow for at least 15 to 20 laps, and it just had to all go into one big wreck somewhere.
Yeah, so
I think Josh Robertson, sorry about that.
No,
I think Josh Robertson's actually going to cycle out to the lead. He did pit under green flag. I think he might have stayed on the lead lap, so he might rotate out here.
Yeah, he's only got 7 laps on that tank of fuel. I don't see any reason why you'd come back down. Mitch Welker is going to end up in second. Richard Nash in third. We haven't really talked about him. He's been sort of mired in the midfield so far, and taking a look at where he started, 18th to third. So he'd been kind of hanging out in the bottom half of the top 10, but that bright blue car with the twitch.tv/RacerMan12, he sits third right now. I wonder if he's streaming, Connor.
I don't know, but I hope the viewers now stay here. You can watch his streams later. I'm sure you can watch them back. I think we need the viewership here. But I think one thing for sure, we're going to see a lot of new contenders up at the front. We have a few people who are hovering around there, like 70. Mitch Welker was up there. 91 was showing some flashes. Then you got Miller and the 20 back there. But you got a lot. You're going to have a lot of new contenders trying to get to the front in a short amount of time.
Well, we've got a handful of drivers out officially of the race, those being Evan Adams, Bronson Stafford, Michael Skinner, Zach Buchanan. For now, Tom Bourne is also off the racetrack and has been in his stall for quite some time. Again, thanks again to Fuel and Emission 22 for being the premier sponsor of this series. And also thanks again to 89 Speed Shop for putting some more money on the line for those 5 drivers in the orange numbers going for the extra cash bonus here tonight. So as we get lined up for the restart, we're going to re-rack him and restack him, go all over again. Richard Nash had just dropped out there for a moment. He's kind of having a hard time staying in.
See what the bump drafting is like. We saw way too many aggressive bumps almost caused wrecks, and ultimately the wreck on track was caused by a bad bump to the right rear. Although obviously the wreck was caused by the bump draft, with about, I think, 35 to go, you're probably still going to see a lot of aggressive bumping, and it's probably going to get worse.
Well, you already see the field stacking up. There's Casey Lakatos in the Sim Motorsports Supra on the inside and back in 7th. Cass Hillman to his outside as the pace car pulls off. We're going to have about 35 laps to go here at Daytona for the season opener for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Green flag back in the air, and Josh Robertson going to lead him back to the green.
I'm not sure if he's even been leading any laps right now. We're going to see what he can do at the front of the field, as well as for the 12 of Richard Nash. We're going to see what these guys can do. Nash immediately trying to get to the outside of the lead.
Take a bit of a run there to the outside. Jason Brophy's going to fill the hole left on the bottom. Mitch Welker accelerating up to speed with the 91. Another Project 2 car, Linus Stern. So now Ritzko's got some big shoes to fill with the 40 that is out of the race now. They got to work together as a two-man team up towards the front.
You're going to have to do a lot of extra work to stay up front now. It's going to be really tough, but, you know, teamwork makes the dream work. I think they're going to be able to stay up there just fine as long as they keep a car in one piece, as they're already weaving around a bit.
Yeah, stuck behind the 12 of Richard Nash, and they're losing a lot of positions here in Ritzko.
52.
Yeah, he looked left as we got a battle for the race lead. Here comes Brophy to the outside of Robertson.
No one wants to work with Josh Robertson. That is clear right now. Dumped by the 9 to 50 and the 20. The 20 goes low, and Casey Lakatos said no. He's trying to go for the lead.
Here's Hayden Pistorius giving a push to the number 50 as they head off into turn number 1. And Casey Lakatos powers the lead in turn number 2, battling Jason Brophy on the bottom.
Always like to see some good promotion for the race lead. Some TV grid life, you love to see it. He's got a big push from Pistorius right now. I don't think Pistorius is going to be able to clear, though.
Off into 3. Pistorius is not quite there, but Lakatos is going to bail for the bottom. That opens up the outside for the 9 to Pistorius, and here comes the 20 mid-corner with a push from Robertson. Don't push the pusher. We've learned that a couple times.
I don't think a 3-car tandem works, especially in the turns, but who knows? I'm not out there. It looks like the 20 really wants to lead. Jason Brophy's going for it. Got the push from Pistorius. Pistorius got to watch the attempts now, and Lakatos has got to watch his outside of the lead.
Well, here's another Fuel 5 driver. We've really not had all of them near the front at any one given time, but Chad Simpson from start at 28, he was one of the worst drivers in terms of qualifying position, but here he is up inside the top 5 and currently in the Fuel 5 take holder position.
Brian Chambliss was leading it after his incident with the server. It pretty much blew everything wide open for the other 4. We'll see what anyone else could do, but looks like the 42 is looking in good shape right now.
Jane Terrian jumping from the inside to the outside of the bright green and gray 83 car. And 2 wide, 2 deep up towards the front. The 42 is Simpson, and the 12 Richard Nash. Then Michael Stroll in the 8 car. I haven't talked a lot about him yet today. Started in 24th. He's clawed his way up to 8 to 12.
He was involved in one of those mini incidents early in the race. I think he was about to get lapped almost. I might be thinking of someone else though. But as we're seeing after that big wreck there, a much weaker front pack right now. Not a lot of people pushing, not a lot of people really strong up there.
And Miller has lost the lead and is kind of buried back in about 10th spot right now. So how do you get your position back? And is it really that important right now to get it back? Would you rather get there now, or would you rather wait for the field to clear up a little bit before you take that run to the front?
I think for someone like Miller, he wants to get to the front immediately, but at the same time, you really don't want to go to that 3rd lane, especially after you just caused a wreck. Are you really going to have that many fans that go up to the front there? I'm not really sure what everyone's thinking about him right now, but I think for a driver like him, he needs to be at the front to be able to control the race like he was doing earlier.
Murphy going to take a run to the outside of Lakatos. He'll lead that lap in the line with Pistorius pushing. Bit of a slip and slide there off into turn number 1.
They're still aggressive on the bumping. That hasn't changed one bit. There's really only the two tandems up at the top right now. Not much of a 3rd car in some of these lanes. So the 42 actually gets to the inside lane right there. Couple of runs. Look at Miller, as we were just talking about him, trying to make an aggressive move 3 wide.
He's gained 1 spot. He can gain 2 more by completing this move. He's up 1, and if he can get to the inside of the 83 and complete that, he'd gain 2 in 1 move. As he's still, actually, he's got the draft. He's in the best spot right now of the drivers around him. Casey Lakatos leads out of turn 4, swings up to the outside lane.
3 wide. Here we go. 3 wide for the lead. This is what we came to see.
30 laps to go at Daytona. Robertson, Lakatos, and Brophy side by side for the top spot as they head off into turn 1. The 9 of Pistorius in the middle, and it's chaos at the front of the field.
Sometimes it's good to block like that, because that guy behind you will go to the outside and he won't get any help. That's exactly what happened. Brophy's out of a picture and Lakatos still doesn't have the lead. Robertson actually got the lead back, but look at Lakatos with a run from Pistorius.
And there was a lap car up the road. I don't know exactly who it is, but I can tell you it's going to be really busy if they don't get this sorted out by the time they hit the lap traffic.
It's Michael Skinner again. He was the one who actually caused that problem when they passed that line of 4 earlier, as almost had to stack up to 12. 12 of Richard Nash almost caused the big one, trying to pick a lane there, but still 2x2, still all good. Miller tried the 3-wide move again, couldn't make it work.
Good job by the 27 to stay on the apron. That's probably the safest place to be, at least through the triangle section.
Gotta be careful coming back up onto the track, though.
Looks like he'll stay down there as they go through 1 and 2. So Lakatos has led a couple laps so far, has led 2 on the day, and he could get a 3rd if he comes back to the start-finish line as is. Look at Jeremy Miller, though, kind of creeping his way. He went from 10th to 8th in that last maneuver. Now he's up in 7th.
And I was talking about the front pack being weak. It's not. I think it's 2x2, at least 13 rows.
Well, it was a minute ago, but now we're back racing. And we're running out of time now. We're down to the last 20 minutes, and this is when the intensity starts to rise. And I think you mentioned it earlier, the chaos counter. The probability that we're going to get a crash exponentially raises every time we cross the stripe.
Especially when we get around probably 20 laps to go, because sooner or later you're going to see a 3rd line start to form. People are going to get desperate, try to get something working around the outside wall. We're going to see that probably happen. It's probably going to go bad, but you got to do it to get to the front, because if you just stay in the first 2 lanes, you're probably done for.
Pistorius giving a push to the 50 of Lakatos on the back straightaway, offset to the right just a little bit. There's the 52 of Robertson hunting for the bottom. Lap car on the outside, they split them 3 wide.
Look at the move by Pistorius going for the race lead. Used that lap car of Nick Johnson to absolute perfection there. Distracted Lakatos a little bit. He was able to get the lead away.
That was awesome as he goes to the top spot now with the 52 of Robertson in behind him.
Everyone trying to keep a clean car. I don't think it's going to be possible at the way this is going, but everyone's trying to keep their cool, even though Pistorius just pulled off an even cooler move. Richard Nash got really loose there. I don't know if Lakatos is going to make up much ground. I don't think Nash is capable of pushing right now.
Leader Pistorius down the back straightaway. Less than 25 minutes of racing to go in this one. We've had 1 caution at the halfway point that tore up a couple of our front runners. The 52 going to shoot to the top, right in front of the 50 of Lakatos.
Huge stack up there. Nash lifted, and I don't think Miller was ready. Really stacked up that outside line as they go by Brian Chambliss on the apron. Pistorius continues to lead. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle? When do you think about starting to block that outside line heavily? I don't think it's time for it yet, but you really never know.
I think you got to be ready to block when you're ready to take the car home in a dump truck. I mean, I don't know if there's any time when it's good to do that. I think the last lap is probably the only time when you'll be able to get away with it, because you can come across the line upside down leading. And if you lead that lap, then you win. But if you do it any earlier than that, you take the car home in a junk pile. So I wouldn't do it till the very end. I would just let people have it right now. But you do have to assert yourself a little bit just to not get blown by.
You got to be careful with those moves inside to outside. You can't block them if they're really quick, and Pistorius couldn't do it either. Look at Chad Simpson.
Oh, he turned the 52 sideways in front of the field. A huge one in turn 3. And it's everybody. Everybody's in it in turns 3 and 4. And the big one happens at Daytona.
Every other favorite is pretty much gone. Miller's in it, the 20's in it, huge crash. Bliss Lopez is in it, the 88, Tyler Dolger, Hensley, McQuiston's in the grass, and that was just not ideal.
Wow. Chad Simpson, Casey Lakatos, Gritzko, Silliman, Rich Jett all get through. Behind them, Calamity on lap number 56. We got to go back and take a look at this one, and it's going to take a while to dissect this one.
That was never going to work. I mean, I guess there was a reason they were trying to dump the 52 there. That was never going to work.
Well, let's go back and see exactly how it all started. It was the 52 car was the first car I saw turn sideways. So let's go back and have a look here. This was off into turn number 3. Watch the 52. He's going to be on the outside of the 9. Now, does he come down or does the 9 drift up here, Connor?
I think you'll see here it's a bit risky, bit too risky by the 52.
Oh, yeah, just tried to cut down, and there was nowhere for the 9 to go. So he turns across the 9, and Mitch Welker gets caught up in this. Jeremy Miller ends up almost on his roof as they come on through.
I don't think anyone flipped. I don't think somehow anyone flipped. That must be a record for how many cars are in a crash on iRacing, and no one would flipped.
I think you're right. But you have to feel for Miller. It's after dominating this race and moving back towards the front to get caught up in a wreck like that. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, you're really not going to be happy when he caused a wreck, but it doesn't matter how many wrecks he caused. You're not going to be happy when something like that happens. I mean, the 52 only had half a car like on him, and he turned left like he was clear, looking like Quinn Houff out there. So
let's go back, and I want to take a look on board the 62 of John Wilco, because he had a great sight of what this looked like.
I don't know how anyone got through it if they weren't Lakatos or Simpson there.
He just came to basically a stop and still found his way to just tap the 98 around, but an absolute junkyard in turns 3 and 4 for our second caution of the day as we head back up towards the front. As we've had a couple drivers hit pit lane, and there's a lot of damaged cars down here as well. Current leader is actually scored as Robert Kenny here in the 34 car, but again, I think he had reset the car. So I think Cass Silliman will cycle out to be the front runner here.
There's a couple guys who were actually in the middle of the pack who did a great job avoiding it, starting with the 91 of Christian Gritzko. Cass Silliman, actually, I think he got minimal damage, as well as the 77 of Rich Jett. But those three, at least those three, did a really good job of somehow avoiding massive damaged cars. I don't know how the 91 navigated them through that.
See the back of the 6 car and a pretty torn up rear bumper as well. The 91, I wouldn't be super concerned about the damage that he's got in that car. That looks pretty manageable. Chad Simpson's car is probably the cleanest one left in the field. Casey Lakatos doesn't look like he's got a scratch on his either. Then from Curtis Yancey on back, it's just going to be a handful of cars that are all torn up. Rich Jett got away with it. Gary Weaver, look at him. Started back in 20th. He's up to 8th in the NVIDIA car.
I think he commentates other things.
Or does. I think he works for Podium as it stands. There's Will Roberts in the 17. 40th to 12th.
Bit of damage on the rear. Doesn't look too bad compared to most.
That rear bumper. But this is a topic of discussion, though, because this is what's going to cause a wreck later in the day. You try to push that rear bumper, it ain't going to work, Connor. You're going to have someone get turned around. So this is when things get even more challenging, is now you have to figure out who's got bumpers that are capable of pushing.
Well, it might be no one except for maybe like 2 or 3 people, because even the leader, Cass Silliman, his rear bumper's messed up. Also, the guy on the outside road doesn't even have a front bumper. I don't even think he's on the lead lap. That's Chambliss. That's
Chambliss. There's Gritzko's got damage on every corner of that car. It's just, it doesn't have to be very severe. So it's not going to be very aerodynamically efficient, but in the draft it should probably be okay. We have lost basically half the field in that crash. About a third of those drivers are out probably for good. The other 2/3 are at least back rolling in some capacity. Dolger's back out, Connor Sawyer, Tyler Hensley, but those cars are pretty much destroyed.
Well, 2 people have left the session, Tom Bourne and Jeremy Miller. I mean, it's super unfortunate for Miller. He was probably going to get up to the front at some point, but sometimes it doesn't go your way. It happens every now and then, so you just got to regroup and go for it next week. He really needed a good start. He might still get most laps led, but really not the start he wanted, that's for sure.
So, Cass Silliman going to bring us back to the green flag on the inside lane with Christian Gritzko on driver's right. Then the 42, Chad Simpson, Casey Lakatos, Curtis Yancey, and Rich Jett. Caution extended here.
Extended by Roberts. I think there's problems with the grid right now. I think people are lined up where they shouldn't be or something. Also, there's a lot of people coming around still doing damage. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of cars still catching up on the out of the pit lane, so probably some issues they got to get sorted. So in the meantime, let's kind of run down what we've seen so far. 2 cautions so far. One at lap number 41, the other at lap 56. But both of them, I would say the first one was very minor in comparison, but it's rare that we have a wreck that big that's not towards the end of the race. Usually you get those right at the end, but we're going to have a pretty decrepit field trying to make their way to the end of this thing.
Yeah, I thought the front pack on that last run was pretty weak, and that's going to make me look dumb now, because we're really not going to have that many competitive cars. It's going to be Lakatos, it's going to be Chad Simpson, I think the 77's okay, the 51, and again, I said there was a lot of newcomers after that first wreck, and now you got the 0-1 up front, the 0-1 of Gary Weaver, like you said, out of nowhere. RJ Roots come into the top 10. Calvin Filarski started 41st. He's in the top 10 out of nowhere. A lot of new contenders now.
Filarski, that's what I had my eye on here. That, other than the right front, that car's in pretty much one piece. So is the 29 of RJ Root. That Hollabuzz right behind in the 0-2, just some front end damage on that car. There on back, it's kind of a mixed bag of damage, but see who's got stuff to play with and who's going to have to just run it out to the end. But Cass Silliman, with that damaged rear bumper, I think I wouldn't be shocked if that car ended up spun around just because of how hard it is to push a car like that.
I mean, we've been under yellow for a while, and I'm still out of breath. I don't know about you. We're probably going to pass out at some point if the racing continues like it has.
So Ford versus Toyota on the front row, then it's Toyota versus Toyota on row number 2. Toyota versus Chevy on row number 3. Be just about 21 laps to the end of this thing, the season opening race for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. And a wild one so far, still 21 laps to go. Cass Silliman going to bring us back to the green flag, racing again from Daytona Beach.
Whoa, a bit of a wheel spin from the 91 of Gritzko there. I don't know what that was, but he did not get going. Going to get the push from Lakatos. I don't know about you, but I think we're in line for a big surprise winner at this rate.
I think so too. I think all of our favorites are kind of out of this at this point. So it's going to be a kind of a mixed bag. The 42, again, the Fuel 5 competitor with the orange number on the ticker. So he's going for a little extra cash. There's the 51 of Curtis Yancey, who we haven't talked about all day long. Started 33rd. Here he is in 3rd. And here comes Simpson to the outside.
A couple guys dropping back. RJ Root dropping back. I think he was blinking. The 51 of Yancey, I don't think he was, but he's going to drop back. Meanwhile, the outside lane's got the run. Chad Simpson goes back to the point with Gritzko and Lakatos up in the line. They drop down, leave Lakatos hanging.
Simpson out up front. Has led 1 lap today. He's not to make it 2 as they come out of 4. And now we're down to 1 Project 2 car, at least 1 Project 2 car at the front of the field with the 76 taking on that most recent incident. Here comes Silliman back to the outside.
Help from Lakatos. Lakatos is probably going to have to work with a couple of damaged cars now, as pretty much everyone is. Him and Simpson are going to have to find the cars that are the least damaged, and hopefully they come out on top, as we're already seeing a very weak lead pack, about maybe 10 to 15 cars.
I'm really curious to see if Casey will try to push this 6 car and how successful he will be. Staying pretty off of it right now and aiming for the square part of the bumper, and just the slightest of touches there as they head off into turn 3.
To just slightly touch them. It makes the tandeming much easier, a lot more momentum possibly. You never know, but it's not seeming like Silliman's getting good runs right now. Lakatos just can't get him up there. He's going to really aggressively push off the turn here.
Yeah, you're right. That front pack is really kind of disintegrated. There's probably about 12 cars in it as it stands. But Silliman and Simpson side by side into turn number 1. And these 2 cars are pretty strong as it stands, but it's all going to come down to who's willing to help you. And I think the 42 is much more likely to receive help given the rear bumper situation on that car versus the 6.
At the same time, that could be the opposite. You know, he's the cleanest car out there. Hey, let's try to gang up on this guy, you know? They might try to really not work with him. They might try to work with Silliman, or maybe the 91, the 12. They might try to gang up on him.
Definitely consideration. Saw the 16 car drop in the lineup. Jared Dixon, hard move from top to bottom. I call that the elevator as he went down a couple stairs to the inside.
Nothing like an elevator move trying to race for that lucky dog. I think he's actually the first one racing for the lucky dog. He is 18th, 17 cars on the lead lap right now.
That's correct. He is the lucky dog driver as they come through the tri-oval now as we approach 15 laps to go. And now, Connor, do you get tunnel vision at this point? I mean, or do you get a sense, a heightened sense of the car drivers around you? I'm curious if you're just focused on the guy out front with 15 to go, or you focus on everything around you. And where's your focus at this point?
You try focusing on everything around you, but the more wrecks there are, the more crazy moves there are. You start seeing red, and you start trying to block all these moves. You start trying to go to the 5th lane in the fence or something. You really start getting really aggressive, like that Lakatos push right there. Really aggressive on Cass Silliman there. Almost caused another wreck there, but really just start going all crazy, trying to make anything happen. And before you know it, you're probably going to be up in the fence at some point. They're really spreading out here. Lakatos trying to split Silliman here.
3 wide for a second as the 42 leads across the line at lap 64. Silliman in the middle, 50 on the outside, 91 on the inside. Gritzko, Silliman, Lakatos from the line to the wall.
Richard Nash trying to help Lakatos dump the 6, but it's not working too well. They're not getting the best of runs. Silliman hanging in there on the middle line, and Chad Simpson's looking really strong, almost looking unbeatable right now.
Not one of the cleanest cars out there on the racetrack, but there are a few more. Look at him fan out on the back straightaway. The 6 got plenty of room to work with, but absolutely no help. Sucker hold down the middle. Silliman going the wrong direction.
I wonder if Lakatos is going to to drop down. I think he's thinking about it now. He's going to do it. He gets dead even with the 42, but he doesn't drop down in time. Silliman gets back to the middle. No help, doesn't matter. Silliman staying strong in that middle. Not as damaged as I think Lakatos thought.
That just looked like a commitment problem there. I think the 50 could have gotten there, but he kind of hesitated. Bit of a stack up right in front of the 93 and the 2 car. They almost get collected together as the field now kind of accordions back together here.
McQuiston did a good job avoiding a big wreck there by not getting into the back of whoever that was. I think it was Vilarski. As we're seeing a bit of a 2-car tango separate a little bit from the rest of the field. You got Gritzko, who looks pretty good here. He's been glued to the back bumper of Chad Simpson for a while. When does he make the move to the outside to go for the lead? We're coming to 15 to go.
Well, Silliman's going to fill that hole, so he's not going to have the opportunity. Lakatos giving a push to the 6 car now. These two have worked together a lot since the restart. Wouldn't be surprised to see them hang together towards the end. Both of them teammate-less right now up at the front.
It's still really anyone's race with this many laps to go, except for the ones that aren't in it, of course. That's obvious. But anyways, 12 cars in the lead pack. A lot of lap down cars in there, like the 16 of Jared Dixon. I heard someone blow up. Don't know what that was, but Silliman's got the run right now. Good push from Lakatos, going for the race lead, but Lakatos lays off.
15 laps to go at Daytona in the season opener for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Next week, we head to Kentucky. Decidedly a lot less dramatic than the banks of Daytona, but to take a trophy home, you heard Tom O'Gorman say it in the intro, it is a special moment. Even in the sim world, winning here means something. Simpson out up front, leading this race, and got Ellis Engineering on the side of that car. Satellite Racing, as they go through 3 and 4. He has led so far 7 laps. He is a Fuel 5 competitor. If he could win this race, he could easily take home the Fuel 5 cash prize, brought to you, again, by 89 Speed Shop.
Silliman had a good run there, but it just sort of died there. It looked like Chad Simpson just turned on the afterburners to get through the rest of the tri-oval there. I think when it regards of a 6 and the 50, I don't think Chad Simpson needs to block those guys, but if the 91 of Gritzko gets clear of those guys, I think that's when he's going to have to risk trying to get rid of them. Doesn't even matter, caution on the track. And it's Riley Thompson. 56
car of Thompson, we got a bit of a stack up watching the field kind of get back under caution circumstances here. They're a little bit sketchy as they came off of turn 2. So there's Riley Thompson, spun at the, I believe that's the exit of, is that the exit of 4?
I think Thompson blew up in front of everyone.
Here's a look. He was right in front of the 9. Oh yeah, right there, blew up. And just got hooked around. And with Ryan Chambliss too. It's over, yeah, it's over in turn number 4.
Just to make their nights a little bit worse, I suppose.
Yeah, some nights you're the bat, some nights you're the ball, and a lot of these drivers at the back have been the ball tonight.
I think Chambliss has been hit for a home run at least 5 times.
Yeah.
10 laps down, rough season opener for him. Got a bit screwed by the server, and now he's got a bit screwed by some engine troubles. He had nowhere to go there.
All right, crew chief. Are we coming to pit lane, or are you staying out?
I think you're staying out. I think you're probably saving enough fuel for any green-white checkers. I don't remember. I think we have some. I'm not complete. I think we might have unlimited. Not completely sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think there's any need for tires at this rate. You just got to get to the front. There's going to be a restart with under 10 to go. You just got to go.
Well, I think Chad Simpson and Gritzko are definitely going to stay out. Silliman probably as well. Lakatos, Weaver, anybody on back from 3rd or 4th, I don't think it's a bad idea to try it, especially if you got a little bit of damage left that you can come down and fix. I'd go do that now. Might help just a little bit, but that could be the difference between you getting out front and winning, you getting out front and hitting a brick wall and ending up 5th.
I mean, it could be a strategy to pull. Like we said, there's only going to be, I think, 18 cars on the lead lap, if that. You know, the 42's been strong. He's been leading ever since the restart, pretty much. Why not try getting new tires? You can make some big moves. You never know. I still don't think anyone's going to take anyone up on that offer, but you got to do something to beat Jim Simpson, I assume.
Yeah, that's always the thing you wonder about is are you able to beat the leader doing what you're doing right now? And if you can't answer that question and say yes, then it's not worth avoiding that option. I would hit pit lane. See Matt Hollaba coming on down in the 0-2. Why not?
David Kolb as well. Only a few takers here. A couple lap cars like Johnston and Brophy, Pistorius, a couple others.
Shocked at how many front runners. This is really going to mix up the points. Obviously, it's only the first race of the season, but you know, you're going to have a lot of interesting drivers positioned weird in the points until we head into next week in Kentucky. Looking ahead at the schedule, we got Kentucky next week. That's the 28th of July. Then August 4th will be Watkins Glen, the road course in upstate New York. Then Iowa Speedway on August 11th. Homestead Miami Speedway on the 18th in New Hampshire. Darlington, Charlotte, North Wilkesboro, Talladega, Road America on the 13th of October. Then Atlanta, Lucas Oil Raceway Park, then Michigan, Bristol, and Texas to round out the season. So a lot of races coming up all the way through November 17th will be the end of it. If you can catch it all right here on SimTV, Tuesdays at 8:50.
So Texas was the finale?
Texas is the finale.
That's Eddie Goss's dream.
And Bristol,
He wishes.
Bristol, the second to last race. That's the penultimate round. I'm really excited for that.
I mean, I'd switch those up, but I'm not the guy who makes the decisions. Texas should still be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also cool to see Road America on there. That's a track that we actually have only run once with stock cars here on SimTV. And that fueled it back with the, I think at the time it was the Rigshare Cup Series back in the first season that we ever did. And it was a pretty good race from what I recall. So obviously we're using Xfinity cars now, so it should be that much better. That will be towards, I think I said October 13th, later in the year.
Yeah, those cars are going to be slipping and sliding all over that track. It should be a really good one. Those cars they're fun to drive in Xfinity and trucks and Cup. It doesn't really matter what type of car you put on that track. It provides for great racing, and it should do nothing different there.
Absolutely. Of course, another series of the Road America on the schedule is the Outsider Racing League, which runs on Saturday nights, and I'll actually be at Road America the night that race happens. That will be September 12th. September 11th, it might be the exact date, but that'll be a Saturday night. I'll be at Road America. I'll have the track staff with me. I'll be commentating from the Road America booth. That'll be a lot of fun, so make sure that you're tuning in when that comes around. So we're going to have a 10-lap shootout to the end of this thing. Couple green-white checkers on the table if we need them. Connor, pick me a favorite. Who you got winning this thing?
I just don't see, I think it's only a two-car race, but I don't see how they're going to beat Chad Simpson. Gritsko hasn't been able to challenge. Obviously, the 6 and the 50 haven't been able to work together to get up there. I think it's Simpson's race to lose at this rate.
Well, been out front, not for too long, but he can make it count. Again, the orange number denotes the Fuel 5 competitors with cash prizes available thanks to the 89 Speed Shop. And he's trying to claim that. And right now, there's no one else around him that could really do a whole lot with that prize. So Chad Simpson's in a pretty good spot. If he finishes anywhere near where he is, he'll be able to claim that and be at least a couple dollars richer at the end of the night. So Simpson, Gritsko, Silliman, Lakatos, Weaver, your top 5. Then Nash, Jet, Pilarski, McQuistion, and Yancey, the rest of your top 10. 10 laps to go. Simpson out front, Gritsko on driver's right. Pair of Toyota Supras on the front row, then a Mustang, another Supra, then a couple Camaros in behind them. 10 to go at Daytona in the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Pace cars off, green flag back in the air, racing again at the High Banks in Daytona Beach.
The perfect restart for Simpson there. He's going to get out in front of a 91. Silliman's going to be able to push him out front, but if Silliman gets clear, is he able to go up, get help from the 91 and maybe pass Chad Simpson? Is this where we see blocking happen?
Well, they're going to have to get real busy on those rear bumpers because the 6 and 42 are clear. Gary Weaver slots into 30. He's not quite clear of Gritsko yet. Gritsko did not get through the gears very efficiently. He's back to 4th, make it 5th.
There goes Silliman for the race lead, but Weaver did not go with him. No help for the 6, and it's going to be Gritsko who's going to have to get up to the back of him to push him. Simpson's going to get cleared of a lead, possibly.
Whoa!
Oh, big push there. Lakatos had to lift. Pilarski had to avoid. Good job with no wreck there. Just more help for Chad Simpson. Gary Weaver's clear for second.
And to avoid making wrecks, you have to kind of think 2 or 3 cars ahead of you and be able to back out like Lakatos just did. Towards the end of the race, though, you start getting selfish and you're only thinking about yourself. You stop backing out of incidents like that, you're going to cause yourself a wreck. So 9 laps to go. Simpson leads. Gary Weaver's in 2nd, then Rich Jet, Cass Silliman, Richard Nash 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Gritsko back to 6th as they roll the high side.
Yeah, we said the 42's the cleanest car out there, and now he has competition, and Gary Weaver, a little bit of damage, but he's looking pretty racy right now. He's got the 77 behind him. He might have enough help to maybe make a move, but look at the 6 car getting that run on the outside.
Couple drivers swapping positions there deeper in the field as we enter turn number 3. Simpson out in front. Is there anybody that can challenge this pristine 42 at the front of the field right now? Silliman's taking a run with him from Gritsko, but I have not seen the 91 be able to push quite as effectively. But neither has the 01, so it might be a dead even heat here across the line this time through lap 73.
Only 3 cars on that outside. Pilarski trying to get up there all the way from pretty much dead last on the grid. They're going to be dead even in the turn 1. This is the best I've seen Silliman look right now. He might have a shot if he gets a good enough push out of turn number 2. I don't see it likely though. We'll see right here.
Well, Silliman's nose on that car is absolutely pristine. Not a scratch on it. The rear looks like he's had the school bus run into him at a stop sign.
So restart, got a huge run here. He's actually clear. Is he going to drop down? The help from the 91. I think he's got to take the opportunity when he can. Chad Simpson's been passed finally. That's Silliman of a race lead.
And now we've got two of the strongest cars lined up nose to tail, and that's going to be a big detriment to the outside groove. I'm not sure that the 91 can carry that run. The 42 is going to look high. Big block by the 6 car.
And the 01's getting squeezed onto the apron. They're door banging for the lead. They're 3 wide. It's not going to work. The 91's on the 76 hard into the inside wall, into the tire barriers. They're wrecking into turn 1. The 27 involved. The 51 as well. Coming up the track, Wilco involved. The 57, another big one. Hensley, the 16 who just got the free pass. Another huge calamity, another huge mistake, and another restart.
Wow, what a hit. I think it was the 77, Rich Jett, that absolutely obliterated that wall coming to the end of the pit lane area, and what a mess that was. Here's a look as they slid down the racetrack. So the 91's going to drift up, hit the 42, bounce off, and it's kind of ping-ponging around here. Going to come off the top with help from Lakatos, get the 77, and watch this impact here. That's probably 170 miles an hour straight into that wall, back up the racetrack. And then you said the 27 car was the other one that was involved?
Another separate wreck. The 27 got turned or something. Didn't really see, but he came right up across the track.
Yeah.
Couldn't really hold the brakes.
Got tangled with the 11, right back down into the 51, and they came off the wall. But for Rich Jett, that was a horrible collision. I want to ride on board. The 27 came back up the track and got Wilco, the 1. Big mess. 16 also in it.
Yeah, he just got the free pass as well. So much for that elevator move.
Here's Don Wilco's view of all this.
It's not going to be pretty.
Oh, man, that hit on the inside wall is horrendous. And then right in front of him, backs out of the throttle. And then right here, I think, right there, gets tagged. Almost got through. 5 laps to go. We're going to re-rack him and restack him and go again. Wow.
And in the middle of all that, it was Cass Silliman who maintained the race lead. So Chad Simpson's going to have to do something here. He's got, I think he's going to have Lakatos lined up behind him, actually. So it might be trouble for everyone else.
Well, Calvin Filarski's also up here in the number 2 car, which there's not a whole lot of damage on that car. The right front splitter area on this car is a little bit bent up off the pavement, which I think could be an issue. But it probably is fine in the draft, and I wouldn't really worry about it too much if I was Filarski. I'm just going to push and drive as hard as I can until the end of this thing.
Yeah, it's just got to pretty much go for it at this point. You don't really care about the temps at this point.
Well, we're going to be coming down to the very end of this thing now. And when you get down this close to the end of the race, you get a restart. You don't really have all that much time to get full speed. You're probably going full speed maybe by the middle of 3 and 4 after the restart. And then you really only have 1 lap to figure things out. So I'm going to be focused 100% on getting my shifts right on this restart.
Yeah, the 91, he was involved in that last wreck. He's not a factor anymore. It's really the guy in 3rd place you always have to watch out for on these late race restarts, because, say, Gary Weaver, for example, if he gets clear of Chad Simpson somehow, he's probably going to shoot to the outside to get the race lead. There's really not going to be enough time on this restart to get a 3rd lane going like I thought there would be. We really haven't seen that ever happen, so apart from like 1 or 2 cars. It's all going to come down to the restart. You can't miss any gear here or else you're hosed.
Well, last season, I should say, it was the 76 of Mitch Welker that ended up winning, coming across the line sideways and not quite upside down, but might as well have been. Today, it has not been such a good day for Project 2, kind of each of them going out in their own separate incidents. The 76 led some laps early, so did the 40. Welker running 27th now, 2 laps down. But it won't be a repeat for the 76, but it could be a new winner up front. Chad Simpson, Cass Silliman, Gary Weaver, Casey Lakatos, Calvin Filarski. A really interesting top 5 group. And then, of course, Richard Nash. Travis McQuistion has survived most of the day other than some right front damage. It really is. Anybody inside the top 10 could come out of here with a victory, and it wouldn't surprise me. But I'd say someone from the front 2 rows is probably going to be your winner.
Yeah, the restart this late, if you're not in the front 2 rows, you're usually probably not going to win the race unless a wreck happens. It's really hard to make up any ground, especially on a restart that we're going to have, I think, 3 to go here. You're going to have to make some big gains, get a huge push, go 3 wide. You're going to have to get some sort of NOS energy boost or something to get to the front here. It's going to be really tough for guys Filarski on back to make any ground.
We will have 3 laps to go at the restart. Cass Silliman will be the leader on the inside lane, lined up with Gary Weaver and Calvin Filarski. The outside will be Chad Simpson with the 50 of Casey Lakatos and the 12 of Richard Nash. I'm looking at the outside lane as probably being the stronger first 2 rows, but of course, with the jump, the inside's going to get Connor. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of turn 2 side by side.
Well, I don't know if we'll see that jump again. In 91, Gritsko just didn't get through the gears well, lost all that ground for that outside lane. Chad Simpson, he's been on it pretty much every time, got a perfect restart last time. I expect him to do the same again. If he stays alongside him, dead even in the turn number 1, if the 6 can't clear him very well out of turn number 2, it's going to be trouble.
Well, we started the night with 42 cars. And we had almost all of them until that second wreck at lap number 56, and now we're down to about 16 cars in the lead lap and probably 8 of them competitive. But we're going to find out who's got what when we hit the green flag here with 3 laps to go, about 7.5 miles worth of racing. And it'll take us about 3 minutes, so it's 10:27 here on the East Coast. And just after 10:30, hopefully we'll know who wins this race. But we got a chance for a green-white checker.
Chance for a huge upset with Weaver and Silliman up there. You never really know who could win these, and you got a couple experienced guys on the outside row. Anything could happen here.
Pace car pulls off as the caution has just been extended.
Yes, it has.
And not sure.
And so it's a green-white checker then. The driver said they were still on the backstretch, so they threw it for them guys. So this is a green-white checker, naturally, guys.
I don't know if this is going to count for one of our green-white checkers, however, right?
It's not. It's natural.
Yep, it's a natural one.
79 and 80.
Yep, so this won't put us into overtime. This is just green-white checker with 2 laps to go now at the restart. That just, you get all amped up for the restart and the caution lights come back on, you go, ah.
That's probably the worst-case scenario for Silliman, I would think. I know if I was leading, I would hate that. I personally, I'd hate that.
Coming back around now. Calvin Filarski sitting in 5th. He started second to last. Here he is running 5th. At this point, anything's a victory. Might as well go for it.
I mean, pretty much everyone who was running at the back, just conserving their stuff, is pretty much up front here. Third to last, Will Roberts is 9th. Only 2 drivers who started in the top 10 are actually still in the top 10, Travis McQuiston and David Kolb. Everyone else has started 14th on back.
Wow. A lot of our front runners out in early accidents today. 2 big wrecks. One at lap 40, the other at lap 56. And then most recently, the collision on the front straightaway involving the 77 and the 91. Now we're going to get 2 laps to go. So our 7.5 miles is now 5. Cass Silliman out front in the Ford. Number 6, Connor, as we come to the restart.
I still think if he doesn't get clear of Simpson here, it's trouble. I think he's in trouble regardless. Here, I don't know how he's going to do it. He might throw a big block if he does get clear. It could be calamity.
He's going to have to give it a run for the money here. 2 laps to go at Daytona in the season opener for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Great restart for the 6. Green flag back in the air with 2 to go.
I wouldn't say the best of restarts. That's too big of a jump, but he's got Gary Weaver trying to come with him, but Weaver has no help, while Chad Simpson on the outside with Casey Lakatos does. Lakatos hasn't gotten to him yet, and Gary Weaver hasn't been able to clear him. I don't think he's going to be able to clear him. The 6 is going to have to block Simpson.
Yeah, and this is going to be a huge head of steam now with the 50 locked to bumpers, and they're not going to block the 6 car. He's going to stay with the 0-1, so they're going to bank on those 2 cars working together well. Here comes the 50 to the outside in the 42. I wouldn't do that just yet. If we can get back to the stripe under green, it'll be 1 lap to go.
Weaver's dumping the 6, can't do it. He blocks. I think Lakatos' best case scenario here. He clears the 42 and gets them out front, but that's not going to happen. Simpson clears. That might be all Chad Simpson needs for Filarski to the back bumper of Lakatos. I think we're going to make it back around.
White flag one more time around Daytona. 42, Chad Simpson leads. Lakatos has help from behind with the 2 of Filarski. 1 lap to go. 2.5 miles left at the World Center of Racing in the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series, and Chad Simpson in command of the field as they head to turn 1.
Silliman's all over the back bumper of Gary Weaver, trying to get him clear. Maybe Weaver's trying to lay back a little bit. Silliman's clear. Does he go high? Yes, he does. Gets in front of Lakatos. Does Chad Simpson block? What lane does he block? Weaver's got the run. Silliman's got the run. Everyone's got the run. Lakatos.
Oh, they crash! They touch! The 42 stays out front. The field wrecks behind him. Everybody's out except for the 42 of Chad Simpson. He's all by himself as the field collides on the back straightaway. Everybody except the 42. And checkered flags get away for Chad Simpson as the field wads up behind him. He only led 15 laps of the 80 we had tonight, but he's going to be a winner in the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Chad Simpson wins at Daytona.
In a bunch of calamity, I thought he was gone, but he was able to make it work. Robert Kennedy, excuse me, got the second. Filarski third. McQuiston recovered for fourth. And pretty much the rest of the lead lap cars are wrecked and all that. I don't know if fifth came across the line yet. There he is. Steve Herring got all the way up to fifth.
With the engine blown, a top 5 result. I don't think I've ever seen a race end with that big of an accident where someone drove away. I mean, Chad Simpson was out in front and he just avoided making that, and everybody. Can you imagine if he had gotten turned around and everyone was just limping back to the stretch?
He was getting right hooked. He was gone. The 6 was into him. He was somehow to keep it straight. I can't believe it.
Well, we're going to watch him celebrate. We'll show you the results, and then we'll take you back to look at all of it all over again. But Chad Simpson, the winner of the first race of the season here in the 2020 B season for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series, he'll walk out as the points leader and a race winner.
Just about. Not every day you win a race at Daytona by 1.5 seconds.
No, and not every day that you've got no one drafting you. And not every day you know you're going to win by the time you hit turn 3.
Oh, yeah.
A nice looking donut there. Perfectly round. Knows how to do it.
He might be getting good practice for this season. You never know.
Classic brass donuts here as the 42 comes across the start-finish line. Here's a look at your race results. Of course, Chad Simpson out of Texas, the race winner. Robert Kenny from Illinois will end up in second place. And Calvin Filarski, a podium. He ends up in third. McQuiston fourth. Steve Herring fifth. Jason Brophy ended up seventh. He had a destroyed car, somehow ended up inside the top 10. Casey Lakatos, he was second onto the back straightaway, ended up in 10th. We'll let the rest of the order scroll on through here, Connor. But how about that way to start a season?
Yeah, it was action-packed from start to finish. We had aggressive bumping throughout the whole entire thing. I mean, that is unbelievable to win a race like that. It was a great job by Chad Simpson. He picked the right lane to be in. If he was getting pushed by the 6, he could have been involved in an absolutely catastrophe for him. Could have given away that race. Could have seen a very big upset, but Chad Simpson, after that big wreck, he was the guy to beat, and he made sure no one was able to do that.
Well, also, you note the orange number atop the pylon there. That is the Fuel 5, so he will take home the cash prize, brought to you by the 89 Speed Shop. With all that going on, let's go back and have a look here at the very end of this race, because I want to dissect that last lap collision that led to so many of our front runners being out of this race. I am just shocked that he somehow snuck his way through this. So let's go back and have a quick look exactly how that all formed. So on the back straightaway, here we go.
It really all started when Silliman went to the outside to get the push from Lakatos. Simpson didn't really know where to block, went to the inside. Lakatos got a bit of a shove from Filarski, got to the left rear of the 6 there, and really just couldn't lay off, didn't lift at that point.
Everybody got into it. The 11 of Calb in the middle of this. But
oh, man. If Kyle was able to get through that, he might have had a run at Simpson, but he just got clipped.
This all goes back to just the 6 car kind of threw the block on the 50, and the 50 just didn't back out, and that's all it took. Comes back across the racetrack, collects the rest of the field, and the 6 car Cass Silliman back in 15th place. Not where Cass probably should have ended up that race, unfortunately. But sometimes that's just how Daytona is. You get kind of the short end of the stick a lot of times. And that's just how it's going to be this afternoon. So let's see if we can talk to a couple of our drivers. We're going to first talk to Calvin Filarski, who is our third place finisher. And we'll pull in Calvin and have a little chat. Hey, Calvin, you got a copy?
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
It's going fine up here. Third place tonight, Calvin, after starting all the way back in 41st. Take us through your race this evening and those last couple laps in that restart.
Sound so surprised, man. I mean, come on, you know I had it.
It was wild out there, man. I don't know if we knew who was going to win, until everybody wiped out. So just take me through. I want to know what was in your mind those last couple laps at that restart. And did you know it was going to end in such a big mess?
And last few laps were interesting. My teammate Travis was just yelling at me over the radio, like, it's time to sack up. It's time to go and, push somebody or let someone push you, but put your car in a spot and make it work. And going down the backstretch with 2 to go, I did exactly that. Got behind Casey and tried to push him around and came around the last lap and hell kind of broke loose, but I kind of expected that out of the cars I was seeing bouncing around. I knew they were going to get aggressive and try and block, and I was just going to hold it up against the wall and hope I'd sneak through, and I just managed to do exactly that.
Well, it's a great way to start the season and carry some momentum into the next couple races. We head to Kentucky next week and then Watkins Glen, so kind of a weird way to start the season with a 1.5 mile track right out of the gate as well as a road course. Your thoughts on those next couple rounds and how you think you'll do?
Kentucky's going to be an interesting one. We obviously haven't been there before. We're going to go and try and put our best foot forward, but don't have super high hopes there. And Watkins Glen is just going to be, nice little Sunday drive. We're going to go out and do our best and bring the best road course car we got in the garage and try and make it stick. All
right, Calvin Filarski, third place tonight in the season opener for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Thanks, Calvin, for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Moving on now to Robert Kenny, who was second in the number 34 car. And Robert, good to see you back here on Sim TV. Well, it was a wild one at the end. Started 26th tonight, ended up in second, but trials and tribulations for a lot of cars tonight. It seems like you outlasted and survived until the very end. Take us through those last couple laps on that restart.
Yeah, it was barely surviving even at the end. It was just the main plan was to keep the car clean as much as I could. I succeeded at doing that first half of the race. But it was just every wreck after that it seemed like I would get into, and for the final few laps, I had my teammate Shane Terrian lined up right in front of me, and our plan was just don't lift. It's the final 2 laps, so it was lucky I got past that final wreck with enough momentum to carry me to second.
Obviously, I think I've seen in the past that our season opening race has so much talent in it. Their field is so stacked from top to bottom. We head to Kentucky next week and then to Watkins Glen. How do you think you're going to do this season? Is this an okay indicator of everyone's performance? I know the race was so chaotic, so how do you think things are going to shake out the next couple weeks?
I don't think this is like super speedways are great barometers of racing skill, because you've also got to factor in the luck factor, which comes and goes whenever it wants. So I think when we head to Kentucky next week, that's when you'll see the actual talent of drivers come out. But yeah, it should be a good season of racing with all these people, especially if the field size stays this large.
Robert, thanks for talking to us. It was a really good race today. Just to survive it and somehow grab a top 5 out of that. Good luck to you next week at Kentucky.
All right, thank you.
Put on now to our race winner, Chad Simpson, who had some pretty good runs last year, but this will be his first win of the season. It'll be at Daytona. Chad, a wild race today. You led 15 laps, and towards the end, it looked like you had the best car, but there was a lot of chaos around you, and I'm not sure we knew how things were going to shake up. So what were you thinking when you saw the field wad up in your mirror on the backstretch?
That was interesting. I think there were like 3 times that I managed to get up front, and then everybody in my mirror wrecked. I'm just looking behind me like, where'd everybody go? And yeah, I had to work my way up through the field because I was getting 75% throttle in qualifying and didn't realize it in time. And I don't know, I was just in the right place at the right time.
Obviously, Daytona is always kind of a crapshoot when it comes to where people are going to finish. So there was a lot of our front runners that got wrecked out earlier in this race. As we look forward to Kentucky and to Watkins Glen in the next couple of races, how intense is it going to be to try to keep a good points position here? And how confident are you that you're going to be a championship contender come the end of November?
Well, that's a long ways off in November, but next week, we'll see. It's a decent track. I don't know how I'll do at Watkins Glen. I know you love it. I know, but I don't know. We'll see how we can manage.
All right, Chad. Hey, congratulations. Also, the Fuel 5 winner tonight, and that was cash prize provided by 89 Speed Shop. So the orange number on the timing and scoring, and orange number atop it at the end. So congratulations on that, Chad. And we'll see you at Kentucky.
Thanks. It's a good debut to be back with Satellite Racing. I've been gone from them for a long time, so victory lane is fantastic.
All right, we'll see you next week. Chad, thanks for talking. All right, Connor, time to wrap things up here. It's been a wild evening, and I think we've all had our fill of plate racing for a little longer, but a great race and a great way to start off the season, I think. I think there's a lot of drivers that are frustrated, but that kind of comes with the territory of a track like Daytona. I don't think there's any way that everyone could walk out of here happy.
I think everyone but the winner's frustrated because pretty much everyone else wrecked but him. Might take another hour and a half to unpack everything, but we saw a lot of people at the front, some newcomers really making good headway into the league, a couple people with a couple silly mistakes that got to be wrapped up quickly, but at the end of the day, it's Daytona. You need to have a little bit of luck to win, and Chad Simpson pretty much hit the jackpot on that tonight.
Yeah, so again, Kentucky Speedway next week. That'll be at 8:50 p.m. right here on Sim TV. If you enjoyed watching, make sure to drop a like and a subscription to view more Sim TV because we got a lot of stuff coming up. Tomorrow night on the Winding Road Magazine channel is the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. That will be on the Winding Road Magazine YouTube channel at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then Thursday, Scars Porsche Super Cup at Zandvoort on the 23rd. Thursday, then Saturday night, we're going to head back to Las Vegas for the Outsider Racing League. And earlier in the afternoon, we're going to head over to the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos for the Formula I Championship, F3 at 11:15 and F1 at noon. We'll see you there tomorrow and for the rest of the races throughout the week. Thanks so much. See you next week.